When you picture water damage, you probably think of a simple puddle on the floor, maybe a little stain on the ceiling. But the truth is, it's a silent, incredibly aggressive force, and you are always working against the clock. So today, we're going to break down the urgent science behind water damage, especially in climates that give it a dangerous head start.
So let's just kick things off with the most important question of all. When a pipe bursts or your roof starts to leak, how much time do you really have? Are we talking days? Hours? What do you think?
The answer, and this might surprise you, is minutes. Water starts soaking into everything it touches almost instantly. Materials like drywall, wood framing, and insulation, they act like giant sponges, just pulling that moisture deep inside where you can't see it. And that is what sets the stage for huge problems down the road.
This is why the professional standard for an emergency response is 1 hour, just 60 minutes. Within that first hour, a trained crew needs to be there, on site, starting to get that water out. If you wait any longer, you're not just fighting water anymore. You are fighting a losing battle against mold, structural rot, and damage that you just can't undo.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with that critical 60-minute emergency window. Then, we'll look at how certain environments can create a perfect storm for water damage. We'll uncover the hidden destruction happening behind your walls, walk through the professional 3-step response, and finally, we'll talk about how to deal with all the insurance and paperwork that comes after.
So let's dive right in. The 60-minute emergency. And listen, this is not just some catchy phrase. It's the absolute bedrock principle of water damage cleanup. Every single second counts.
And here's where it gets real with actual numbers. In a super humid place like South Florida, water literally wicks its way up through drywall at a rate of 1 inch per hour. Now think about that for a second. A small puddle at the base of a wall can saturate that wall 2 feet high in just 24 hours, trapping all that moisture deep inside. Now, let's see how the environment itself can turn a simple little leak into a total nightmare. We're going to zoom in on Miami Gardens, Florida as a case study because its unique conditions are, well, a perfect storm for escalating a small problem into a catastrophe.
Just look at this recipe for disaster. The city's barely above sea level, so water has nowhere to drain. The humidity is just relentless, which means nothing ever really dries out on its own. On top of that, you've got aging drainage systems from the 70s and porous bedrock that keeps the ground completely saturated. The whole environment is basically working against you.
This quote from the source material just nails it. A pipe leak in a dry place like Arizona, it's an inconvenience, sure, but it'll probably dry out. But that exact same leak in South Florida, you've got all the ingredients, water and constant humidity to create a serious mold factory in less than 2 days.
And this leads us to a really crucial concept, the damage you don't see. What you notice on the surface, well, that's almost never the full story. The real battle is against the water that's hidden from view.
So on one hand, you've got the obvious stuff. Water stains, a wet carpet, maybe some peeling paint or swollen baseboards. But on the other hand, behind the scenes, that's where the real destruction is happening. The wooden frame of your house is getting soaked, which weakens its structure. Moisture gets trapped in those dark, empty spaces inside the walls. Your insulation turns into a soggy, useless mess. And all of this creates the perfect breeding ground for mold spores to move in and take over. So how in the world do you fight an invisible enemy like that? Well, you use a process called structural drying. And no, this is not just setting up a few fans from the hardware store. It's a scientific method. It uses powerful commercial-grade machines to create a controlled environment that physically pulls that trapped moisture out of the very bones of the house, the wood, the concrete, the drywall, before mold even gets a chance to start growing.
All right, so tackling this kind of damage isn't random. It requires a really systematic approach. The pros use a proven 3-phase response to take a property from totally flooded and chaotic back to clean, dry, and restored.
First up, emergency extraction. Crews come in with massive truck-mounted pumps to get all of that standing water out immediately. That stops the damage from spreading any further. Step 2 is structural drying and monitoring. This is where those heavy-duty dehumidifiers and air movers run non-stop, sometimes for 3 to 7 days, while technicians use special moisture meters to track the drying progress. And finally, step 3, restoration and reconstruction. Anything that couldn't be saved gets replaced, bringing the property right back to how it was before the disaster ever happened.
Okay, so the water's gone, the house is dry, but the battle isn't over, not by a long shot. Now you have to navigate the super complex world of insurance claims, industry standards, and all the paperwork that holds it together.
Something that's really important to get is that not all water damage is created equal. The industry actually sorts it into 3 categories. Category 1 is clean water, like from a supply line. Category 2 is what they call gray water. Think of washing machine overflow. It's got some contaminants. But Category 3, black water, that's the serious one. We're talking sewage, storm flooding, it's grossly contaminated. And that category dictates the health risk and all the safety rules for the cleanup.
And this cleanup isn't just guesswork. It's all governed by something called the IICRC S500 standard. You can think of it as the official rulebook for the entire industry. It tells pros everything: how to measure moisture, the right way to dry different materials, and here's the kicker. Insurance companies know this rulebook inside and out, and they expect contractors to follow it to the letter.
In the world of insurance, there's one thing you have to remember. Documentation is everything. It is your shield. Keeping meticulous records, we're talking photos, daily moisture readings, super detailed reports, that is what stands between a smooth, approved claim and a massive, frustrating denial. It's the proof that the work was needed and, more importantly, that it was done right.
And all of this brings us to our final thought. After all the trucks have left, the drying is done, and the repairs are finished, your home might be dry again. But thinking back to those environmental risks we talked about, the bigger question remains, doesn't it? Is your home truly safe and ready for the next storm? It's a question that kind of shifts the whole focus from just reacting to being prepared.